I never imagined I'd celebrate my son's birthday sitting in the driver's seat of a parked car, wrapped in a thrift store blanket, praying he never finds out. That night, the streetlight flickered above me like a cruel reminder that I used to tuck him into bed under a real roof, not count raindrops hitting the windshield. People think homelessness has a certain look, but I still wear the same earrings he gave me last Mother's Day. I still smell like lavender. I still remember how to pretend I'm okay, but I'm not. The eviction happened faster than I could fight it. One missed paycheck, one medical bill too many, and suddenly, the life I'd spent years building came crashing down. I begged for help. Family turned away. Friends grew quiet. And the man I once trusted most, he left without saying goodbye, just like the last time. You might be wondering, how does a mother, a good mother, end up sleeping in her car? Well, there's more to this story than just unpaid rent. There's betrayal, there's sacrifice, and there's something I found in that parking lot at 3 a.m. that changed everything. So please stay with me, because maybe, just maybe, someone out there needs to hear this. If this story touches you, don't forget to like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It means more than you know. The sound of rain on glass is hypnotic, rhythmic, steady, a lullaby for the forgotten. It's the first thing I hear when I wake, and for a moment, just a moment, I let myself pretend I'm waking in a bed, in a home. Somewhere warm, where coffee brews in the kitchen and a child's footsteps echo down the hallway. But no, it's just the rain, and I'm still here. The windshield is fogged, a ghostly sheen diffused with smudges from where I've rested my forehead too many times. My fingers are stiff, cold. I curl them into fists and listen to my stomach growl, an almost angry sound. 27 hours since my last real meal, but who's counting? I press my hand to my abdomen and pretend it quiets the hunger. It doesn't. A man passes the car. He doesn't knock, but he lingers just long enough for my pulse to spike. I freeze. My breath caught mid-inhale like a small bird fluttering in a cage. Don't move. Don't blink. He's just curious. Maybe thinks I'm asleep. Maybe thinks I'm dangerous. Either way, he moves on. My gaze drifts down to the glove compartment. It's cracked open just slightly. I keep meaning to fix it. Inside, nestled between old receipts and a half-dead flashlight, is the last drawing my son made. Crayon, purple and orange scribbles. He said it was a dragon and me, fighting monsters. His smile was crooked like his father's. I traced the edge of the paper with my eyes, afraid to touch it, afraid the colors will fade just like everything else has. A flash, sharp and sudden, slices across my memory. The eviction notice. The officer's hand on my shoulder, firm but not unkind. My neighbor, that woman with the sharp nose and sharp eyes, watching from her porch like she was tuning in to her favorite show. My son's voice, small and confused. "Mom, is this a game?" I wanted to lie. God, I wanted to tell him yes, we were pretending, just for fun, just until the end of the day. But my throat locked, and all I could do was hold his hand tighter. I try my sister again. The phone rings once and then cuts to voicemail. It's the 6th time this week. "Hi, this is Karen. Leave a message." Click. I hang up. I don't bother leaving one. The battery icon blinks red. I turn the phone off and tuck it away like it's some rare artifact. The silence that follows is thick, heavier than the rain. I stare out through the window. The world outside is gray and wet. and moving forward without me. The air inside the car smells of damp upholstery and something else, faintly sour, like mildew and old disappointment. But it's still better than sleeping on the sidewalk. That's what I tell myself, over and over, like a mantra, like a lullaby. It's still better than the street, isn't it? It wasn't supposed to end like this. Not with boxes that weren't really boxes, just trash bags stuffed with clothes and old drawings. Not with my son curled up on the sofa, still wearing his sneakers, because I was too afraid to take them off. What if he had to run? What if we both did? That last night in the house that used to be a home, smelled like lemon-scented cleaner and desperation. I scrubbed the kitchen counter 3 times, the floors twice. I guess I thought if it looked spotless, I could pretend everything else wasn't falling apart. "Mommy's going to fix this," I whispered to him. His eyelids were heavy. He nodded in that half-awake, trusting way children do when they still believe you're magic. But I wasn't, not even close. The argument with Jacob had taken everything out of me. The shouting, the slamming doors, the way he stood in the hallway like a stranger, wearing my ex-husband's face. Cold, unmoved. "You did this, not me," he hissed, like the words had teeth. "You're unstable. You're dragging him down with you." He didn't wait for my response, just turned and left like the story had already ended and he was bored of the reruns. I never saw him again, just silence. And legal threats in envelopes. The shelter was supposed to be a backup, just a temporary thing. I had Googled the address, even called ahead. They said they had space. But when I got there, dragging a half-asleep child and 2 garbage bags at midnight, they looked at me with that practiced sympathy. "We're full. Come back next week." Next week. We slept in the car that night. It was supposed to be one night, just one. Now I know the safe places. Behind the 24-hour laundromat is the best. Cameras, light, a bathroom if you're careful and polite to the night staff. You learn to blend in. Pretend you're just between things, like life is just on pause. That's where I met Angie. She knocked on my window soft, like she didn't want to startle me. She had this faded purple hoodie with a tear on the sleeve and hair that looked like she'd given up on it years ago, but her eyes were sharp, kind. "You're new," she said. I nodded. She handed me a plastic bottle of water and a blanket that smelled faintly of cigarettes and lavender. "Keep the doors locked and park under the light. Trust me." Later, I'd learn Angie had been in her car for 2 years. She knew all the rules of the invisible world we now lived in, the places where you could sleep without getting towed, where the cops wouldn't bother you if you didn't cause trouble, how to make $3 last 2 days. She saw me, really saw me, not as a failure or a threat or some social problem, just a woman trying not to fall apart in public. Funny, isn't it? How the people with the least often give the most, and how everyone else pretends we're not even there. I sit on one of those tiny plastic chairs meant for 5-year-olds, knees pressed together, hands folded tight in my lap like I'm the one being graded. The classroom smells like Elmer's glue and crayon wax, and something sweetly sour that clings to childhood. My blouse is the least wrinkled I could find in the back seat. I ironed it with the car's defroster and a bottle of lukewarm water. It's not fooling anyone. Neither is the concealer caked beneath my eyes. But I smile anyway. Miss Carter, my son's teacher, leans across the desk with a paper in her hand. Her voice is warm, kind. She tells me my son is respectful, creative, a quiet leader, the kind of child who notices when someone is sitting alone and goes to sit beside them. My heart swells so suddenly it hurts. He's been a bit tired lately, she says gently, her voice tilting. Everything okay at home? There it is, the question that stings more than a slap. Yes, I lie, wrapping the word in a laugh that's meant to sound casual, rehearsed. Just a busy week, that's all. I don't know if she believes me. I don't know if she wants to. She nods, her eyes scanning my face like she's looking for a crack in the mask. I keep the mask in place. God knows I've worn it long enough. After the meeting, my son hands me a drawing. He's beaming, proud. Look, Mom, it's us. It's a crayon picture of him and me, standing in front of a yellow house with smoke curling from the chimney. I try to swallow, but something in my throat won't move. The house has flowers in the window, a swing set out back, and we're both smiling, like we don't live in a car. I tell him it's beautiful, that I love it. I excuse myself to the bathroom, and once the door shuts, I crumble. Not loudly, just a quiet collapse, my back pressed to the tiled wall, the drawing clutched to my chest. My sobs are dry, more ache than sound. I look at myself in the mirror. The woman staring back looks like she hasn't slept in a week, maybe longer. The mascara I applied with a prayer is now a smudge under one eye. I clean it with toilet paper and breathe, just enough to walk out again. My phone buzzes as we reach the parking lot. I check it without thinking. Transaction declined. Card blocked. Just like that, I'm not pretending anymore. I glance at my son. He's skipping ahead, humming something, holding my hand in one of his and his drawing in the other. I grip his fingers tighter than I should. I don't let go. And in that moment, I wonder, when does shame begin to hurt more than poverty itself? Maybe when you lie to people who are kind to you. Maybe when your son draws a house you can't give him. Maybe when you're no longer sure what you're faking and what's real. It was supposed to be his day. I parked near the edge of Riverside Park under a cluster of maple trees that drip slow tears onto the windshield. The kind of trees that look like they're mourning something. Maybe they were. Maybe they knew. I told him it was a surprise picnic. I forced cheer into my voice, made my eyes go wide and bright. He clapped his hands. He's only 5 years old today. He doesn't understand poverty, not really, but he understands absence. He understands change. I spread out the blanket I found in a donation bin behind the supermarket. It still smelled like someone else's dryer sheets, and there was a burn mark in one corner. I laid out what I could scavenge: a bruised apple, half a peanut butter sandwich, a juice box that was close to expiration. He was happy, at least he acted like he was. We played tag in the grass. He ran in circles, his arms stretched like airplane wings. "Fly, Mommy," he shouted, and I did. I ran with him. I laughed. I forgot, just for a moment, that the world was broken. But even kids can feel the weight of a lie. At one point, he stopped running. He tilted his head and looked at me with those wide brown eyes. "No cake?" he asked. I crouched beside him, brushed a leaf from his curls. "Tomorrow," I said. A lie, my favorite kind, the kind that postpones pain. When the sun dipped behind the buildings and the park emptied, we returned to the car, our little box of air and steel. I tucked him into the back seat, wrapped the blanket tight around him. He looked at me like he was trying to solve a puzzle he didn't have all the pieces for. "Mom?" "Yes, baby?" "Why haven't we gone home yet?" The words hit harder than I expected. They were soft, almost casual, but they lodged somewhere deep under my ribs and stayed there like glass. "We're on vacation," I whispered. He stared at me for a long time, didn't argue, just nodded. A small, slow nod, like he didn't believe me, but didn't have the strength to press further. He fell asleep fast. He always does when he's sad. I stayed up. I took a torn sheet of notebook paper from the glove box and wrote a letter. I didn't think about it too much. I just let it spill out. About how much I loved him. About how I didn't have anything left. About how maybe someone else could give him a better life. I folded it 3 times and slipped it into my coat pocket. Tomorrow, I thought. Tomorrow I'll leave it. Tomorrow I'll knock on the orphanage door and run before they can see my face. But as the first light crept over the dashboard and the birds began their mocking, cheerful songs, I reached into my coat and pulled the letter out. I read it once, then tore it to pieces. Tiny fluttering pieces that filled the car like confetti, like snow. I cried until he woke up. Then I smiled like nothing happened, because that's what mothers do. I try the number again. It rings once, then silence. Not even a voicemail this time. Just the dead, hollow tone of disconnection. He changed it. He changed the number. Of course he did. He's always been good at disappearing. I don't cry. I don't even blink. My thumb lingers on the redial button like it's a detonator. I could press it again, but what's the point? He's gone. Not physically. He probably still exists somewhere, in some apartment, in some other woman's bed. But for me and for his son, he's vapor. A ghost with a name and nothing else. The church sits 2 blocks away, squat and weary, just like I remember. The same cracked bell tower, the same stained glass over the doors. I think maybe if I walk in, someone will remember who I used to be. Maybe I'll feel like a person again, not a shadow. Inside, it's cold and smells like old candles and lemon polish. I see her, Mrs. Keating, the choir lady with the cotton hair and tight smile. I step into her line of vision, ready to say my name, ready for some flicker of recognition. But she doesn't flinch, doesn't even pretend, just turns her back slowly, the way someone does when they're trying to be kind but can't quite stomach the sight of you. I leave before the hymn starts. Later, I find a bruised apple behind a grocery store and a loaf of bread so stiff it sounds like wood when I knock it. I take them anyway. My hands go numb digging through the trash bags. My breath fogs in front of me like ghosts escaping my chest. It's disgusting. It's humiliating. It's necessary. Angie finds me behind the store, her van parked crooked across 2 spaces like it's daring someone to tow it. She's got a blanket over her shoulders and a cigarette dangling from her lips. "You can sleep in my car," she says, nodding at the van. "It's warmer, safer." I hesitate. She smiles, but her eyes dart. "No thanks," I say, voice hoarse. "I'm fine." It's a lie. But I'm not ready to hand over my last ounce of control, not even to someone who offers warmth. That night, I hear the gunshots. Distant but distinct. 3 sharp pops followed by a scream that doesn't echo. I sit bolt upright, heart thrumming in my ears. My son stirs beside me, and I wrap myself around him like a shield, like skin. "You're safe," I whisper, though I'm not sure it's true. "You're safe, baby. Mama's got you." The cold seeps into the seams of the car, like it's trying to find a way in, and I wonder, how many times can a mother be ignored before she disappears completely? Before even she stops seeing herself as real? I watch my reflection in the cracked rearview mirror, pale, hollow, almost invisible, and I don't look away. Not this time. I stare at the mirror, willing myself to see something familiar. Anything. But the woman looking back at me isn't someone I know. Her eyes are hollow, like they've been drained of all hope. Her skin is too pale, too stretched, as though it's trying to hold on to something, anything, beneath the surface, but it can't. The reflection is unfamiliar, unrecognizable, like a photograph of someone who died long ago. I blink and the image doesn't change. I reach for the soap dispenser, my hands trembling. I watch as the foam swells in my palm, the lather thickening, and I wonder when I stopped feeling clean. I scrub my face hard until it burns, but it doesn't erase the exhaustion. It doesn't wash away the desperation. It just makes the skin beneath my fingertips raw. I turn away from the mirror and lean against the wall, pressing my palms against the cold tiles. The fluorescent lights flicker overhead, buzzing like a warning I can't decipher. I think back to who I was, a girl with dreams, a girl who thought she could change the world, who thought the world would want her to. I remember sitting in a lecture hall at the university, the textbooks spread out in front of me. Social work, helping people, saving lives. I was going to make a difference. I knew it. I had to. But somewhere along the way, the dreams faded. Somewhere between the bills, the arguments, the nights spent praying for a way out, the path that once seemed clear became clouded. And now I'm here, washed up in a public restroom with a face that belongs to someone else, someone who failed. I grip the edge of the sink and close my eyes. This isn't who I am, but it is. This is the reality. This is where I am now. A knock at the door jolts me from my thoughts. I hesitate, then step back. A voice from the hallway calls, muffled but kind. "Are you okay in there?" I open the door, and the woman standing there looks at me with pity in her eyes. I hate the pity. Hate how it makes me feel like I'm something to be fixed, something broken. She's wearing a blue uniform, one of the workers from the shelter I'd tried to get into earlier. "Can I help?" she asks, her tone soft, careful. I shake my head. "I'm fine." She glances at me, studying my face for a moment before lowering her voice. "There's a spot for mothers and children, but only for 3 days." I don't respond right away. 3 days. 3 days is nothing. It's a blip in the universe, a flicker that's gone before you can even see it. But 3 days could be everything right now. I take a deep breath, pushing my hair behind my ears, then look at her again. "What about my son? Can he come with me?" Her eyes soften even more, the pity deepening, but she doesn't look away. She nods slowly. "Yes, but you'll need to come now. It's not guaranteed for long." I swallow hard, tasting the salt of tears I haven't let fall. I turn toward the mirror one last time. The woman in it is still a stranger, but I wonder if, just for a moment, she might be someone I could become. I wipe my face and nod. "Okay, I'll go." The air inside the shelter smells of bleach and stale bread. I try not to breathe too deeply. The fluorescent lights hum above us, an incessant buzz that seems to penetrate the walls, the floor, my very bones. But for the first time in what feels like forever, I'm not afraid of the dark. Not completely. The cot feels like a dream, a real bed, not the cold, cramped front seat of the car, not the hard floor of the church basement. It's not perfect, but it's something. A small, fragile thing that could mean safety. For a few hours, I let myself believe that maybe things could be different. Maybe this time, this place will be enough. My son sleeps beside me, his head nestled against my shoulder, his breath even and soft. It's the first night in weeks that he hasn't stirred in his sleep, whispering about monsters or asking when we'll go back home. Tonight he's at peace. For once, the weight of the world doesn't hang heavy on his small chest. I can't help but watch him for a moment, my fingers brushing his hair gently. His cheeks are flushed with the warmth of sleep, and I can almost convince myself that this is a normal night, that we are a normal family, that this moment of quiet is a glimpse of something I can hold on to. But then the door creaks open, and a woman walks in, clipboard in hand. Her name is Sarah. She's from social services, and she's here to check in on us, to make sure we're settling in okay. The moment I see her, something shifts in the air. It's like she's both a stranger and a lifeline, someone who could either help or further bury me in this mess of paperwork, deadlines, and waiting rooms. She asks if I'd like to talk. I hesitate, then nod. My voice feels strange as I say the words, but I start. I tell her about the divorce, about the years of silence, the cold shoulders, the fights I pretended not to hear, how my ex left without warning, leaving me with nothing but bills I couldn't pay and promises I couldn't keep. I tell her about the nights I sat up, watching my son sleep, wondering how long we could keep running before the world caught up with us. I tell her about the nights I cried myself to sleep, knowing I couldn't provide. The guilt suffocating me, making each breath feel like a betrayal. Sarah listens. She nods. I don't know if it's sympathy or just routine, but it doesn't matter. I speak because I need to, because this silence, this constant holding everything inside, it's breaking me. When I finish, I expect her to say something comforting, something that will make me feel like there's a way out of this mess. But instead, she looks at me with such calm, such understanding, that it almost feels like she's been here before. The system, she says softly, is slow, too slow. I blink, the weight of her words sinking in. She says it with empathy, but it doesn't make it any easier. The words don't change the reality that we're just another statistic, another case waiting in line. I swallow hard, blinking back tears I didn't know I still had. Is there anything I can do? She asks, though I already know the answer. No, I whisper, my voice barely audible. I just need to keep going, for him. She nods, and for a moment I think she might say more, but she doesn't. She just leaves, her footsteps fading as the door clicks shut behind her, and I'm left with the quiet, the heavy, suffocating quiet. But this time it's different. There's something I didn't have before, a little glimmer of hope. For the first time, I don't feel like I'm sinking. I never meant for him to find it. The letter, the one I should have burned, the one I'd written in my darkest hour the night before I almost gave up. The one filled with apologies I didn't believe in, explanations that would never be enough. It wasn't just a letter, it was my confession, my resignation. It wasn't supposed to be for him, it was never meant to be for his eyes. But there he was, holding it in his small hands, staring at the words I had tried so hard to forget. Mom, his voice cracks like glass, soft, unsure. Were you going to leave me? I don't know how to answer. For a moment my chest tightens, and the air is too thick to breathe. His face is a mixture of confusion and concern, too much for his 7 years, too much for him to carry. He's clutching the paper like it's the last shred of me, and I want to take it from him, to rip it into 1,000 pieces and bury it in the earth. But I don't. I sit beside him, my hands trembling in my lap. Tears rise uninvited as I try to make sense of the words in my mouth. I want to tell him everything, that I was scared, that I didn't know how to be strong, that I was drowning in a world that felt too big and too heavy for just one person to carry. Instead, all I manage is a broken sob. I'm so sorry, I whisper, my voice shaking like a leaf in the wind. I didn't want you to find that. I thought it would be easier to go, to just disappear, but I never wanted to hurt you. Never. He doesn't say anything for a long while, just looks at me, his brown eyes wide and steady. It's as if he's trying to read the truth in my soul, as if he knows that in that moment I'm not sure who I am anymore. And then he hugs me. It's not the kind of hug I'm used to, the one where he's looking for comfort. No, this one is different. This one is for me. It's like he's holding me together, like he's trying to put all the pieces back where they belong. You're my home, he says, his voice soft but sure. You're my home, Mom. The words land with a weight I wasn't prepared for. For a second, everything stops. My breath, my heart, the rain against the window. It's as if time itself holds its breath. I blink back the tears, unable to speak. Something shifts inside me, something cracks open in the darkness, and a small light flickers. Hope. It's fragile, but it's there. And for the first time in a long time, I feel like maybe I can hold on. I don't know how, but I know that I must. That night, after he's fallen asleep, I take the pen in my hand again. The same pen that wrote my confessions, my apologies, my surrender. But this time, I write something different. This time, I write to myself. A letter to remind me who I am, to remind me that despite everything I've lost, I'm still here, that I've survived, and that I will continue to survive. The email comes just as I'm about to close my eyes. My phone vibrates against the plastic dashboard, and for a moment I wonder if I should just ignore it. But I don't. I never ignore a chance, no matter how small. I pull the screen closer. Dear Ms. Thompson, we are pleased to inform you that the school is offering meal assistance for your child. Please visit us at your earliest convenience. I sit there, staring at the words. They should feel like relief, but they don't. They feel hollow. A small lifeline, but just barely enough to keep me from sinking. I don't want charity. I want a future, a real one, for my son, for me. But this is the reality, isn't it? We don't get to choose when we're broken. We just find a way to put the pieces back together. If we're lucky, we get to do it before the cracks swallow us whole. I press my lips together and breathe, steadying myself. Another step, another hand out. But it's still a step forward, one foot in front of the other. I can't stop now. I don't go to the school right away. I can't. I need to do something for myself. I need to feel like I'm not completely drowning in this mess. So I do what any woman desperate enough would do. I send a few desperate emails to every coffee shop in the area, any place that might offer me work, even part-time, even minimum wage. It doesn't matter. I need a job. I need dignity. It takes 2 days, and then my phone rings, a number I don't recognize. Hello? I say, trying to make my voice sound professional, like I've done this 100 times before. Hi, is this Rachel Thompson? We received your application and would love to set up an interview for you at our cafe downtown. How does 2 p.m. tomorrow sound? It sounds like the answer to a prayer, not the answer I want, but the one I'll take. I manage to murmur an, "Of course, thank you," before hanging up. And then, just like that, the world shifts slightly on its axis. I feel something. Maybe hope? It's faint, but it's there, flickering in the corner of my chest. The next day, I put on my best, read, only, clean shirt, and head to the cafe. The interview is simple. The woman behind the counter kind but professional. She doesn't ask about my past. She doesn't judge. And when she says I'm hired on the spot, I smile. It's small. It's weak. But it's real. That night, I try to sleep, but I can't. Thoughts flood in. What's next? What's going to happen to us? My mind keeps circling back to Angie. She's been my rock. What little rock I had left. We've shared so many nights talking in the cold. And now she's gone. I hear the news from the hospital. Pneumonia. She's been admitted, but it's serious. I drive to see her the next day. She's so small in that bed, hooked up to machines that beep rhythmically, like some kind of cruel soundtrack. She doesn't look like herself. She doesn't look like the woman who taught me to keep going when I didn't think I could. But when I walk in, she sees me and, just for a second, her lips curl into a weak smile. "Rachel," she says, her voice barely a whisper, "you brought me flowers." I hand her the small bouquet, the petals limp from the long ride, but her eyes light up. For the first time in a long time, she smiles, and it's the most beautiful thing I've seen in weeks. I sit with her and we talk about nothing, about everything. The days before, when we both thought we had all the time in the world, but time runs out for all of us. As I leave the hospital, I can't stop thinking about her. I can't stop thinking about what I'm doing, where I'm going, where we are going. I look at the street ahead and I wonder, where will I be in a year? Will I still be this broken woman who can barely hold herself together? Or will I finally find the pieces and make something whole again? And what if I never do? I find a room in a shared house. It's small, barely big enough to fit a bed and a dresser, but it's something. It's a start. My son's excitement fills the room as we carry our few belongings up the narrow staircase. He insists on decorating the walls with his drawings. Bright, messy sketches of dragons, trees, and a house with a red roof. His little hands work quickly, pasting each drawing with so much determination it feels almost like a ritual. He's proud of his art, even if it's just crayon on cheap paper. He says it's for good luck, and maybe it is. I look at the tiny room and think about how far we've come, how much we've lost. But there's no room for pity here, no room for regret. It's just us, together in this small, fragile space. I return to work, a few hours a week at a small cafe down the block. It's not much, but it's enough to pay for rent and food. There's dignity in it, even in the quiet moments between customers, when I catch myself wondering if they notice the tiredness in my eyes. They don't. They never do. I haven't told anyone my story. I'm afraid they'll see me as weak, broken. But something shifts in me one evening as I scroll through my phone. I write a post. I don't even know what exactly it is I want to say, just that I need to say something, to put it out there. I tell them how I've been living, what it's like to feel invisible, to struggle every day, to be alone in a crowd. I write it all out, raw and unfiltered. I post it and wait. The responses start trickling in. At first, just a few likes, then more, and then a comment that stops my breath. I thought it was just me. And another. Thank you for sharing this. I'm going through the same thing. My phone buzzes with more comments, messages from women who feel the same way. Women who have fought battles like mine, who have struggled in silence. I realize then that I'm not alone. I am not the only one. I am part of something bigger, something real. Tears burn in my eyes as I read their words. Not tears of sorrow, but of something deeper, something more profound, truth. For the first time in a long time, I feel heard. Later, I sit on the edge of my bed, my son beside me, and I tell him what I've learned. I tell him that we're not poor, we're not broken, we're survivors. We've made it through things that would have broken others, but we're still here, and that, my love, is more than enough. I turn on my camera, recording a final message for my followers. My voice cracks, but I keep going. Some stories aren't meant to shock, they're meant to reach. If mine reached you, please let me know. Like, share your heart in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. Your voice matters here. I stop the recording and look at my son. His eyes are wide, waiting for the next part of the story. The story will continue to write together.